It's time for Howlers and Growlers. A weekly show from our Arizona Coyotes writing pack, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, prospects, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from draft day to the trade deadline, our team covers everything ice hockey in the hot desert. So sit back, grab your favorite cold beverage, and get ready for Howlers and Growlers.
Welcome to Howlers and Growlers. I'm your host, Pat Brown, and we are thrilled to have you join our show. Joining me, as always, my Coyotes line mate at the Hockey Writers, Haynes Evans. Haynes, how you doing?
I'm doing good this week. What about you?
Doing great. Happy to be doing another one, that's for sure. And we've got a very special guest today, joining us from our sister show, the Hockey Writers Grind Line, and someone who I'm also proud to call a friend, hockey guru, all-around great human being, Devin Little. Devin, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing really good now that you've called me a hockey guru. I'm going to put that on my resume.
Oh, good. We'll see how far that gets you with the if they ever start checking your credentials. But hey, I tried. Well, thank you so much for being here. Been excited to have you on, and we've got a lot to talk about. But first, Devin, we do things a little bit differently around here because we like to enjoy an ice cold beverage of your choice. Or I guess if you wanted to drink a hot beverage, that would be fine too. But some sort of beverage of your choice. That's how we do it. I'll plug mine first, which is a local brewery here in Tempe, Huss. I don't think you can see it off the light, but Huss Brewing Company, Scottsdale Blonde, a German-style Kolsch. Good stuff. Our guests are up next. Devin, what you got?
Well, as you know, Pat, usually I'm drinking Dr. Pepper on the grind line, but
True.
Today I figured I'd be festive and own the show, and I've got a two-hearted ale from Bell's Brewery, which is located, which you might be familiar with, Pat. I know that you're familiar with the Comstock area.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It is a American IPA, and it is delicious.
Shout out to my parents who just went to Bell's with some family, I think. And before they even finished, my mom even finished, I was like, Oberon. She's like, how'd you know that? I was like, wow, not my first rodeo.
True story. That is my favorite beer of all time. So shout out to Bell's.
It all comes full circle.
Yes.
I love it. Haynes, not to be outdone. What you got today?
I have a prairie sour. It's a little bright out there. You might be able to see as well. It's a rainbow sherbet sour. It's from Krebs Brewing Company. So yeah, I'm mixing it up tonight.
Did you just say rainbow sherbet
sour? Yes.
Sour.
Yes, and it is delicious.
I need to try this at some point.
I've heard of smell-o-vision. Do they have taste-o-vision?
Taste-o-vision. That's the next big idea. Well, that's enough about our brews, but good stuff. We got to fulfill the growler part of Howlers and Growlers. So well done, gentlemen. Thanks again for being here. Let's talk some hockey, shall we? So first, let's go ahead and recap the week that was. As of filming, the Coyotes have one more preseason game. So the week that was since our last show, win against the Ducks, lost to the Stars in El Paso, the old Kraft Hockeyville, super important preseason game / marketing play. And then an absolute drubbing of the LA Kings and also the linesmen, if you guys saw that. Which was yesterday as of filming. So I'm curious what your guys' biggest takeaways from the game are. I'm going to quickly go first, and then Devin, I'll yield the floor to you first. But one more note really quick. Some news broke today. Alex Galchenyuk re-signed 1 year, $750,000 contract. So kind of some not surprising news, but good news. I know a lot of people are in Galchenyuk's camp, so looking forward to seeing what he can do. But wanted to drop that in there because Lawson Krause, my friends, my goodness, is he on fire. He's got 4 goals in, I believe, only 2 preseason games. So he's doing well. Louis Eriksson, another one who is really, really looking pretty good. 4 points in 3 games. And then Connor Timmins as well. Connor's got 5 points in 3 games. So some solid performances in the preseason for the Coyotes. Devin, going to start with you. Your takeaways, your thoughts on how this preseason has gone for the Arizona Coyotes.
Well, I know that you guys had kind of mentioned this last week, specifically with Andrew Ladd, but overall, I'm really impressed with the veterans / cap dumps, the guys that have been brought on basically to bring future assets along with them. You mentioned Louis Eriksson. That was one of the guys I had written down. I think the last time people were excited about Louis Eriksson was when he was a Boston Bruin. So
sure.
To see him doing good things on the ice, I mean, shout out to you, Louis. He looks hungry. I'm sure he realizes what the opportunity is in front of him. And then the other guy I want to throw out there that really has caught my eye is Shane Gostisbehere. And I know that at least in my opinion, that was my favorite pickup that they had this year, at least in terms of the salary dump moves that they made. Because I think Shane Gostisbehere kind of gets a bad rep around the league. I don't think he's as terrible as some people make him out to be. If you're putting him in an offensive situation and you're using him as an offensive defenseman, I think he can do some good things for you. And that's he's already shown that. He had a goal against the Stars the other night. And I think that he's going to be one of Arizona's main offensive catalysts on the blue line this season. So it's good to see him starting to get going.
You know, Devin, you called out right out of the gate the cap dump players that they brought in. And to quote GM Bill Armstrong in many a press conference, he's assembled a hungry hockey team, a hockey team with players who are not necessarily happy with how things have gone in their previous stops. So, I mean, that's saying the right things. For sure. You don't often see those types of things pan out, but at the same time, to your point, these veterans have come in and shown their hunger right out of the gate. So Haynes, your observations from preseason, what have you taken from the Coyotes to this point?
You kind of hit everywhere I want to tackle. I think Connor Timmins and Shane Gostisbehere has been a really solid D pairing, and I'm really excited to see them this year, potentially as that second pairing on back on D. So that's something that's been real promising to look at. And guys like Louis Eriksson, honestly, great to see him scoring. I know fans, we've made the joke. I know fans are wanting to see him do that in the regular season. And I mean, Lawson Krause, like you said, I mean, if he keeps this up, I mean, we could see a 20-goal scorer this year. I mean, he is showing in a year in which the team really doesn't have the star players they need. He's taking that role to be that star player, and that's just everything you could want in a guy like him. I mean, it really makes you see why Florida took him so high when they did. But other than that, goaltending's been real good. Carr Hutton had a really good game against LA. Wasn't the best start, but he really came in there near the end. The team really came together there at the end, and honestly, we hope the best for Ryan Gibbons, the linesman who went down. Carr Hutton looked real good. The teams looked real good, and I'm excited for the season start.
For sure. And one more note about Krause, who had a 13-point season last year, I believe. He keeps scoring at a 50% shooting clip, and he's going to be doing pretty well for himself. So that's reasonable expectations, right? 50% of your shots find the back of the net. I think so. All right. Really good stuff. We want to keep kind of talking preseason, talk training camp. So let's go to some of the less fun aspects of that. Your roster cuts, right? Actually, the Coyotes have done quite a bit of work to this point. Rosters down to, or training camps down to about 28 players as of right now. So my question is, with everybody who's been either sent to Tucson or loaned or sent back to their respective assignment, if you will, who do you see that's still in camp? That's maybe your dark horse to make the team. And there's no judging. I'll even put myself out there and go first. And, with Barrett Hayton down with an undisclosed lower body injury, as they would say, not sure how long he's going to be out. My pick is actually for a dark horse, Liam O'Brien, who's been having a pretty solid preseason. 2 points in 3 games. Obviously had the unfortunate incident with the linesman prior to the game, but it was an accident, and everybody kind of wishes him the best. But he has played very well. Oftentimes, I've heard him called out as someone who's kind of stood out from the pack. And with Hayton out, there's a spot. There's a spot. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But that's what I'm throwing out there. So Devin, gonna toss it over to you.
Oh boy. Well,
hope you did your research.
Yeah. I do want to start by saying I do think he's going to make the team. I don't think it's necessarily a dark horse thing. This is an opportunity for me to talk about this guy, Victor Söderström.
Absolutely, sure.
He was 11th. He was picked 11th overall in 2019. Obviously, I'm a Red Wings guy here at the Hockey Writers. If you would have told me going into that draft that the Red Wings were going to go a little bit off the board to pick a right-handed defenseman, a European right-handed defenseman, I would have immediately jumped to Söderström. That's why I would have thought they were going to pick. They ended up picking Moritz Seider, and go watch our shows to figure out how we think about him. But I really like Söderström. Söderström has a lot of offense to his game, and I think he's really turning into a nice little two-way defender too. I think he's going to be a nice little surprise on the Arizona defense for the coming years, especially as they're going through the rebuild, which we'll talk more about later. But the other guy, and this guy was just sent down, but he caught my eyes because he's looked decent in preseason, and then he had some production last season. Was Jan Jenik. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but it's something like that. You're smiling at me, I'm butchering it.
I'm smiling at you because I'm just smiling and nodding. I should be able to pronounce it at this point, but I
think it's Jean Unique. I think that's what they say is Jean Unique.
Haynes kick saving a beauty right there.
I took 4 shots at it and every single one of them missed. But no, he got a 2-game little audition with Arizona last year, and he scored 2 goals in those games. I think that he's somebody that might come up, injuries pile up over the year, over the course of the season. Would not be surprised if he comes up and gets a nice little cup of tea with the team over the course of the year. And like I said, I think he's looked pretty good over the course of the preseason. And you need to have those guys that have some upside, are younger,
sure,
and potentially can fill a role going forward. And I'm kind of have my eyes on him.
Absolutely. Love it. Good perspective. Haynes, bring us home. Who has impressed you, or who's your dark horse to make the team out of camp?
You kind of had mine there. I was thinking the same with you, Pat. Yeah. I think Liam O'Brien has been terrific since coming over from Colorado. I think he's a serious dark horse to make this team this year. I would be surprised not to see him on opening night roster. He looks so good moving the puck. He's smart. He's a good two-way player. And he's just someone that really impressed you and catches your eye. But a guy who just recently got sent down as well that I would have loved to have seen start on the open night roster, and I definitely think we're going to see him at some point this year. And I might butcher his name, and I'm sorry to him if I do, but Boko Imama.
Oh yeah, no, that was perfect.
Thank you.
You used the first name.
Yeah, I
so
can't. Yeah,
we'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I didn't want to butcher the first name, but. But Imama looked so good in preseason. So many people were rooting for him to make it out, and I generally thought he was going to be one of those guys coming in on opening night. And I really think he gets a shot this year at some point to play. I mean, he's a very physical guy who looks smart, knows how to pass the puck. He can find the guy in the slot, and I mean, he was just one of those guys that really amazed you and wowed you in the preseason.
Yep, very, very good vision. He has shown very good vision, and I totally agree. So, really, really good. And Haynes, kind of a good transition into our next topic, which would be, let's talk about who's been sent down to Tucson. Or I shouldn't even say sent down. I should just say assigned, because the vast majority of this wasn't a surprise. But who do you think, things happen throughout the course of the year. We're going to see some call-ups. Who do you think we are going to see that was assigned to Tucson? And I'll throw out a few names. I think there's a good chance at some point it's going to be a goalie carousel, and you see someone like David Tendek come up. But the names that I continuously heard at camp from Andre Tourney, from even Bill Armstrong, Ty Emberson, Cam Crotty, some of these folks who have just stepped up and done really good things to open some eyes. Now, the person who I really want to see, shameless plug, Devin, consider this my Jonathan Berggren of the Coyotes. British sensation Liam Kirk, ladies and gentlemen. 9 points in 7 games at the Worlds. He has participated in multiple rookie camps. I just did a piece on Josh Doan, and he talked about how he used to stream rookie development camp at Coyotes. That's how much Josh Doan loves hockey. He would stream rookie development camp in the summer, and the last one that he streamed was Liam Kirk's first rookie development camp. Well, he participated again. And let me tell you, whether it was the Tucson coaching staff or whether it was Tourney himself, everybody talking about what a leader he is and how much leadership he's shown in taking some of the young players like Gunther and helping show them the ropes when people were a little bit more wide-eyed. So I think any of those names I threw out are viable, but who I selfishly really want to see is Liam Kirk. So I'm going to change it up a little bit because I feel like I stole Haynes' thunder last time. So Haynes, let's go to you next.
No, that was a good one. I think Liam Kirk is definitely someone we want to all see at some point this year get a shot in the NHL. And I think just with the way the season's probably going to roll out for the Coyotes, he probably will get a shot at some point.
Yeah.
Amama's another one of those guys who I would love to see get a shot this season to play.
Yep.
And I could even see like Ivan Prosvetov getting a shot this year,
Absolutely.
depending on how the goalie carousel goes about. So, not really anybody off the top of my head. I have a couple guys here and there. Perfect calling out Emerson and Crotty. I think both those guys are huge players. I would have loved to have seen a guy like Jordan Gross may have been back this year. I think he could have been a big guy. I think Kyle Capobianco is a guy we're going to see this year that if he doesn't start right away in the NHL, he definitely comes up. So there's just so many intriguing names to keep an eye on for that fans are at least want to see in at least a couple games.
Yeah, exactly. Even JJ Mosier had a really good camp. He had a really good development camp. So there's a lot of names out there. So Devin, which one of those names are you picking?
Well, I feel really good about my research skills because all of the guys I looked at have been thrown out there at this point. So feeling really good about that. Kirk definitely did stand out to me. So I'm on board with your Arizona Berggren, Pat. I also, Haynes, you just threw out Capobianco. He's somebody that I've been watching now for the last, I'd say 2 years. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do, whether he starts in Arizona or not. And then the other guy on my list here was Emberson, actually. So, if you're watching this show, these guys know what they're talking about because I just kind of did some blind research, and it turns out that, these are the guys to look for.
Well, solid choices nonetheless, Devin. And Emberson, I mean, I don't know what type of player he will turn into, but I will just say from not an outsider's perspective, but seeing the way he conducted himself and carried himself, and he was captain at University of Wisconsin, he's a leader. That guy is a leader, and it'll be interesting to see what type of player he can turn into. So awesome. We want to hear what you at home think. So make sure you leave us a comment. While you're doing that, why don't you toss us a like, hit subscribe. Thank you for watching us. Make sure you check out all of the other shows on the Hockey Writers Network. We've got the Hockey Writers Grind Line. We've got Saber Scoop, Chicks and Sticks, What's Crackin', Blackhawks Banter. The list goes on and on and on. Follow us on Twitter. Shoot us a comment down below. Like I said, not only will we answer, but we'll also kind of address it the following week. We are on iHeartRadio. We are on Spotify, on Twitter at Howlers THW. Give Devin a follow while you're at it at Hockey with Devin. So really appreciate you guys checking us out. Look forward and enjoy bringing this to you every week. And we're another one's in the books. We paid our bills. We live to see another week. I like it. So now comes the back half, the back nine of our show, if you will. I am in Phoenix. It's a golfing city, so we'll go with that. Thought we could.
Coyotes aren't going to make the playoffs. Your mind's already on golf. I got you.
Yeah, there you go. Thought, Devin, we could take advantage of your Red Wings expertise and talk a little bit about rebuilding, because while the Red Wings are still very much in a rebuild mode, everybody can see the writing on the wall. They're starting to emerge, right? So you're kind of getting out of it. The doldrums are hopefully behind you. And what's interesting to see from a rebuilding perspective is how difficult some of these things can be. So I want to give the fans here. Now, granted, if you're a Coyotes fan, you're really no stranger to rebuilding. But that said, this has a different feel because Bill Armstrong came in, and we'll talk about him in a little bit, but he came in, and I've seen this term used by our friend Carl, in fact, at Five for Howling. Scorched earth is what Bill Armstrong came in and did. And I mean, holy cow. Now we'll talk about that and the mindset in a minute. But before we get to that, the reason I'm calling that out is because it just feels different. They are starting from the ground up. And that's exactly what the Red Wings did a few years ago towards the end of Ken Holland / very beginning of the Steve Yzerman era in Detroit. So Devin, want to start with you. What has been the hardest part of the Red Wings rebuild to this point based on your observations? What's the hardest to stomach?
I think the hardest thing to stomach, there's a couple things that come to mind. One, I mean, let's address the 2019-20 season. Going into that season, anyone who knew this team knew it was going to be bad, but to see it be that bad, I mean, for anybody who's a lifelong fan, that's just hard to watch. Like that was a very proud franchise that was just the laughing stock of the league. That's hard.
And they didn't even get the first overall pick.
And then insult to injury, they picked 4th overall.
Salt in the wound, Pat.
Which, hey, for the record, I will be completely honest. That 4th overall pick. He's playing in Toronto. But in addition, the 4th overall pick has panned out pretty okay, it seems, for the Wings that year. But that's beside the point. Sorry, Devin. Continue.
Shout out Lucas Freeman. But choo-choo. And then the other part that's hard to stomach is that going into kind of the rebuilding era, so to speak, you could kind of look at your list of players and kind of just sort them by age and age group. And by looking at that, you almost figured, all right, this is going to be the old guard and this is going to be the new guard. And you looked at it and you saw guys like Dylan Larkin, Tyler Bertuzzi, Anthony Mantha, and Andreas Athanasiou as guys that were going to be like kind of carry the torch into the new era. Well, fast forward to October 2021, and Dylan Larkin is there. Tyler Bertuzzi missed almost all of last season. He's still with the team, but has some health concerns. Athanasiou was traded in 2009 or early 2020, and then Mantha was traded in this past season. So to think that, oh wow, okay, you can at least see the core, the future core. No, you don't. Right. That future core is probably not even with the team yet. So it's you get attached to players, and then it's the business aspect of it. You have to realize that some of these players, they get traded because they're valuable and because they're young.
What a great call out. Like, honestly, and I can't sit here and compare Armstrong to Yzerman, but Armstrong has shown that same type of mentality that he's not afraid to pull the trigger on something, regardless of what somebody thinks. Yeah, he did it time and time again just this past offseason. So super good call outs. Haynes, your thoughts on, not necessarily the hardest part to see the Red Wings rebuild, but what is your mindset heading into this rebuild, especially for this upcoming season?
I think the biggest thing for the rebuild this year, especially for fans, is just, I know that we've had so many years of, the Coyotes just at nights look terrible on the ice. I mean, they didn't look great the other night to start off against LA. I think they went the first, almost 11, 12 minutes in that game without a shot on goal. I mean, fans are going to have to understand that there's going to be a lot more nights like that probably coming on. I mean, games against Central Division opponents, Winnipeg, Colorado, Minnesota, those games are not going to be games you're going to want to tune in to watch. And, I mean, that's just the honest truth. Like, I mean, I don't want to have to turn into them either. But I mean, I will still be doing it. But I mean, I think the biggest thing fans can really kind of look forward towards all this at the end of the day is, one, I think the biggest thing for Arizona is just trying to find stability in Arizona. I think that's the biggest thing for this rebuild is finding a stable home in Arizona and ending once and for all the relocation rumors that they have faced for years. And two, I think just seeing this team playing over 500 hockey every game, whether they're first or they're dead last. You want to see this team trying every game. They played so many games before we've seen where they play the Lightning or the Capitals and they dominate them. And then they go and play the Ducks and they just look lost. And, and the fans don't want to see that. I mean, you want to see a consistent team night in, night out, no matter who you're playing. So I think if the team can string that together, that's a big part of the rebuild, but it's just going to have to take patience and time. And fans are going to have to, whether they like it or not, are going to have to be aboard on this train.
Absolutely right. In my eyes, what it boils down to, again, watching the Red Wings rebuild, hosting the grind line, patience. And it's such a cliche during a rebuild, right? It's such a cliche to say, be patient, because fans are on board to be patient for a rebuild for like 1 year. and then after the first year of the rebuild, and you realize, you've won 20 games, you start losing patience already. So patience is the big thing that I would preach. If you're a Coyotes fan and you're watching us, I have a feeling you're a very patient person anyways. But patience is what I would preach. And Haynes, you hit the nail on the head. Find the Coyotes a home, get the deal in Tempe done, put them in the new ASU arena, which sounds like the front runner for now. With it only has 5,000 seats, but that'll be interesting. But find them a home, build your fan base, and move forward. Let them be patient. And then guess what? When they have that brand new sparkling arena, which I believe they said 2025 potentially, I think you might have a contender at that point. So patience is key, in my opinion. Second part about rebuilding teams, and second part about what fans should be looking for. What should they be paying attention to? You're watching a team, wins and losses don't matter because you're not going to the playoffs. Maybe you're secretly cheering for losses for higher chances, higher odds at a top draft pick. But regardless, you're still watching the games and the win and loss column doesn't matter anymore. So Devin, what do you pay attention to? What do you look for when you're watching these games and watching your favorite team struggle?
I want to start by addressing a point you just made, because I do think there's an interesting parallel there. You talk about how the Coyotes need to nail down a new arena. Mm-hmm. The Red Wings basically began the rebuild in the first year at Little Caesars Arena. Yeah. And obviously Joe Louis Arena, the prior arena, was home to a lot of great memories. And I think they had a nice, decade-long sellout streak at that building. Yep. Legendary building as far as Red Wings are concerned. So then to open up the new barn and the team, a lot of people say the arena is not as good as the prior arena, and I think a lot of it has to do with the product on the ice. Yep. Once that team is good, then we can start talking about how great LCA is. Absolutely. Now, pivoting to the question you just asked, what you want to be looking for is two things in my mind. One, I kind of talked about in my last answer how you had guys that you thought were going to be part of the core going forward because they kind of fit in a certain age group. What separates guys like Dylan Larkin from a guy like Anthony Mantha is that Dylan Larkin, he's the captain of the Red Wings for a reason. He really, he's become the face of a franchise, and he's really kind of, he was always front. And you've talked about this on the grind line, Pat. He's always front and center when the team loses 6-1 and is there to answer the tough questions. If you're not bought in on the long process of rebuilding, you're not going to answer those questions. You're not going to put yourself in a situation to answer, why is the team bad? Why is the team bad? Why are you bad? Yeah. You're just not going to deal with it. So if you have a kid that's on the front lines and answering those tough questions, that's maybe somebody you want to jot down as, all right, they're going to be part of this. They might even be a captain. Yep. And I look at a guy like Jacob Chikrin as a guy who could do that because he already seems like he's kind of out in the front of a lot of this.
Nailed it.
Yeah, and then the other thing I would say is that obviously, as you mentioned, at some point wins and losses start to really not matter.
Right.
But what does matter though is the individuals on the ice. If it's great if Louis Eriksson has a great game, but when the Coyotes are good again, Louis Eriksson's not going to be on the team.
Yep.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Going to the Red Wings, it's great to see guys like like Thomas Greiss play good on a given game. But when the Red Wings are vying for Stanley Cups, Thomas Greiss is not going to be on the team. You want to see guys like Alex Nedeljkovic. You want to see guys like Dylan Larkin. You want to see guys like Philip Zadina and Lucas Raymond play good. You want to see them continue to grow as individuals. So, you can cherish the good things as they happen as a Coyotes fans. I encourage you to, especially in a season where you're going to have a lot of bad. But what you really want to key in on is the play of your guys that you think and that you hope are going to be a part of the long term. So guys like Chychrun, guys like Genther in the future.
Yeah.
If they're continuing to grow, that means great things are coming for your franchise.
Love it. Love it. Awesome perspective, Devin. And to your point, I almost see parallels to this team and where the Red Wings were 3-4 years ago, even down to the goaltending situation, right? And you brought up Nedeljkovic. We don't even know if he's going to be the goalie for the Red Wings in the future, but everything with the Red Wings rebuild is starting to kind of come into focus, and things are very, very blurry here in Phoenix. So Haynes, your thoughts, what are you going to be watching this team do this year, next year, as they're starting to try to put the pieces together and march towards a contender?
I think the biggest area for not only we as, writers and we as journalists and not only the fans, but the biggest area to look at is who really buys into this. I mean, it's very understandable when you're losing very bad for guys to kind of throw in the towel and give up. Who out on the ice is really battling their butt off every night, really giving it their all, is really bought into it. I mean, if these guys aren't bought into it, then don't even bother suiting up to play. If you're not going to buy in to what this team's doing, then don't play. I mean, and that's what we're going to see. That's the biggest area to look at, is who really is buying into this rebuild, knowing that in the next, hopefully 3 to 4 years, this team's going to be a legit contender. So, I mean, that's just the biggest area for me is, you got to buy in first off. And that's one of the areas you got to look into. But not only that is who takes that step. Like we talked about Lawson Krause. I mean, this is a team that's not going to be a contender this year. Who takes the next leap on a team that's going to be a struggling team this year? Lawson Krause could be one of those guys. Keller could have a really breakout year. I mean, you got to look at the guys who are looking at this as a moment to say, this is my chance to really take the leap. They need that leader on the team. This is my chance to really be the next type of player that they want, that they hope for, and they drafted me or traded for me. So there's a lot to look for there.
Haynes channeling his inner Herb Brooks with his, if the effort's not going to be there, don't even bother suiting up. I love it. I love it. I think you guys said it great. I don't need to pile on, because basically what you highlighted is you're looking for those intangibles. You're looking for your leaders on the team who are going to take the next wave in, right? So you're going to be keeping an eye on the minors, on the prospects. You'll obviously be watching the Roadrunners. You'll maybe be keeping an eye on Josh Doan at ASU and trying to get excited about the future. But as for who's on the team right now, it kind of comes down to who's going to step up and who possesses those qualities to help get you through this, to be a man and face the media when things aren't right, because those are going to be the leaders. And I will tell you, hands down, just in the short amount of time that I've been credentialed covering this team, Chychrun is that guy. He is so impressive in so many facets of the game. I can't speak to it enough. And have to imagine he'll be wearing the C before it's all said and done. But really, really good points, really good perspective, and certainly appreciate the different points of view there. So let's bring this home. We've got one more topic, and we're going to finish on a high note, because it's always tough talking about a rebuilding team. Let's be honest, losing square in the face is not fun. Nobody likes to lose. So we're going to stay on the topic of rebuilding, but I want to finish with Bill Armstrong overall, because I don't know if you've been paying attention, but the Coyotes GM situation was not so great before Armstrong came into play. He inherited an absolute mess left behind by Chaika, including sanctions, lack of a first round draft pick, all of those things. And what does he do? Bill Armstrong turns around, starts wheeling and dealing, starts taking on bad contracts from teams that want to dump salary. And he ends up with the 9th overall pick in the draft and picks Dylan Guenther, who was much higher on a lot of boards, to be honest. So we got a taste of what Guenther could do in preseason. Even he scored a couple goals, and he didn't stop there, right? We've talked about it early on. So I am curious your grades for Bill Armstrong and his start in Arizona. And I'll go first. A+. In my eyes, there is nothing he could have done better or differently. Now, Devin, we lament on the grind line that at best I'm a beer league GM, so I always put that disclaimer out there. But I don't see any way to improve or change what Bill Armstrong has done. And I know people have feelings about some of the people who were shipped out, and I understand that, and things were said and friends were moved and everything else. But at the end of the day, Devin, I think you said it, it's a business. And Armstrong inherited a mess, and he had to do what he had to do to get the team assets now, because this team could not have afforded this past year to not have a first round pick. So I give him an A+. Devin, on to you.
The thing that really sticks out to me when assessing Bill Armstrong is, you mentioned it. He went into the 2021 draft with no first round pick because of John Chaika.
Yep.
And he found a way to end up with the 9th overall pick, which is higher than the pick that they would have had that not happened. They were supposed to have the 11th and they end up picking 9th. That's insane. And then to put the cherry on top, they didn't get, some dude who was maybe projected in the teens. They got a guy who was projected at 3rd on some boards. And by golly, he looks to be that good. So for him to have not only given them that draft capital, but to then have, it seems like, hit on the pick, the rebuild's already off and running. That's fantastic. And you just mentioned it, the business aspect of it. That's one of the things that's kind of the breath of fresh air that Steve Yzerman has kind of brought to the Red Wings.
Sure.
Love it or hate it, one of the things that Ken Holland brings as a GM, and Oilers are kind of learning this, right? The Oilers are kind of learning this right now. He's a very loyal GM. He will take care of his guys. He will give them 10-year contracts if he can. And that's good because people want to stick around and play for that guy, but also then you're saddled with the guy for 10 years and he's only good for half of it. Yzerman bought out Justin Abdicator. He traded Anthony Mantha, even though he's friends with Larkin. You got to have a GM that's able to do those things. It can seem harsh at times, but we said it. It's a business. You got to do what's best for the team in the future and in the long term. And based on his moves over the last 6 months, I think Armstrong definitely seems like a guy who has that long term in mind. And I just based off of his actions at the draft, I have full confidence that he's going to continue to do that, regardless of the hard decisions that may lie in front of him.
Devin, while you were answering, Ken Holland just offered you a 15-year contract. So
and I'm going to sign it right now. No trade clause, right?
Of course. Haynes, you got the last word of the show. So you tell me, how do you grade Bill Armstrong to this point?
I mean, there's really no other way to say it than an A+. I mean, this guy came from St. Louis, working behind Doug Armstrong. He saw what he had to do, letting guys like Pietrangelo walk away, which was a hard move to do. And, but he's doing it because at the end of the day, it is a business. I mean, you think back about when the Coyotes cut ties with Shane Doan. Do you think that was easy for that management? No. I mean, that was a guy that was their franchise all-time great. And having to cut ties with him because for the betterment of the future of the franchise and moving on to a new future, it happens in this sport. And I understand fans are upset about it, but trust me, Armstrong knows what he's doing. He would work behind Doug Armstrong on that cup team in St. Louis. He knows what it's like to build a championship team. And the fact that he's been able to progress so quickly and pull so many trades out of thin air, I sit there every day on the edge of my phone just waiting to hear my phone just catch on fire from another amazing Bill Armstrong trade. I mean, he is just so smart in what he's doing. And, I mean, fans should just be excited at the end of the day because this guy has this team set in the absolute right direction for the future.
Absolutely. I would be interested to see what a Bill Armstrong, Steve Yzerman trade would look like, Devin. That would be quite interesting. Based
An
on
even trade is how that would turn out.
Probably. You know what? I'm actually downgrading Bill Armstrong's to an A. You know why? Because I bought an Oliver Ekman-Larsson reverse retro jersey last year.
Same here, Pat. Same here, Pat. I don't have that anymore.
And I guess I should have gone with Chychrun there, but
hey, you remember the memories. It's fond memories, though. At the end of the day, he's gone. And I know people didn't like him, but it's fond memories. He was a great guy who gave his all to this team for so. I wish him nothing but the best.
It was, him, Dvorak. Those were tough departures for the players and the fans. I think it was Chychrun actually who was talking about Dvorak leaving, and that was hard on him because they're friends, and. Yep. And it's tough. It's really tough, but there are decisions that need to be made, and they weren't moving forward projectively with those players. So it kind of is what it is, but I think we can all agree GMs have a tough job. Even the Ken Hollands in the world who give out 15, they make their jobs harder on themselves, actually. But good stuff. We want to hear what you think about what the job Bill Armstrong's done. So let us know in the comments. We'll talk about it with you. We'll talk about it next week on the show. And that's it. That does it for this week. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, subscribe, comment, follow us on Twitter at Howlers THW. Follow Devin on Twitter at Hockey with Devin. Thank you for joining, and we will see you next time. Cheers.